Hey, what's up guys? Jake with Legacy 4x4 here again, and today we're going to finish up mounting the new front axle that I picked up from Matt. This is a Dana 44 out of a 2000 Dodge Ram 1500. I'm going to be mounting it on my custom Willys Prerunner project I've been working on. With that said, I don't have very long to work today, so let's just go ahead and get right into it, and let's see if we can get this thing finished up today. I think we can. Alright, so as you guys had seen previously, I have these rear leaf springs that were off of Matt's Dodge. He brought them up to me with the axles, and we're going to be using these on the front of this truck. As you guys can remember from last week, we barely couldn't get everything mounted up while Matt was here, but that's okay. I just finished pushing out these old bolts and cleaning up these leaf springs, so now it's time to go ahead and mock these up on the axle, and it should go by pretty quickly, I think. Alright, so up front here, you can see where I placed the shackles for the leaf spring. If you're not very familiar with it, a leaf spring suspension needs some kind of shackle system in order to operate effectively on and off-road. In the rear of this Willys, I use Liquid Iron Industries slider boxes, which perform a very similar function to these, and they work in the same place of these, but I put those on the rear. For the front, I chose to go with Barnesworld Drive's boomerang shackles. They're a very simple 1/4-inch piece of steel that's cut into a boomerang looking shape, and you use those to provide the flex that the springs need in order to operate properly. At loaded weight, for the most part, you can see that my shackle here is at about 100 degrees. That angle is measured from the frame to the shackle here, so I missed it. It's not quite 90. I was going for 90, but it didn't happen. But to maintain ride height and everything, I think this is how it's going to have to be for me. But that's okay. That's within the band of excellence here on this one. So we're going to go ahead and move forward and finish crushing this project. All right, so after doing a little test fit of this axle into the suspension that I have already tacked up front, I realized that I need to cut a little bit of the casting off of the differential. So cutting casting is not too bad. It's kind of annoying more than anything else, but it's very doable. When I do it, I like to use a combination of mechanical tools, such as an angle grinder, a sawzall, and then a good chisel and a good 2 or 3 pound hammer. When you do go cut a casting, you obviously need to make sure that you don't cut into the axle tube itself. The casting is wrapped around the axle tube and helps provide some support and structure, so you also only want to cut out the minimum casting that you need in order to fit whatever it is you need to fit. So again, take your time with it. You want to just notch and mark and cut and all that kind of stuff, and then you want to break off the pieces using that chisel and the hammer. That way you don't risk cutting too far into the tube by accident if you do a little bit of overcut. If you take your time with it, it's extremely doable though. So let's go ahead and get right into that. Alright, so as you guys just saw right there, we just finished up. We got the axle tack into place where it's supposed to go, and it looks great up there now that we've removed a little bit of the casting. Perfectly centered and went by super easy, and I'm very happy with it. Now, next, I actually have to repair the axle from the damage that Matt did to it. So as you guys remember in Matt's video at Morris Park, he completely destroyed this axle. So he blew out both axle shafts on both sides of it and did 2 or 3 of the ball joints total. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in new axle shafts, and we're also going to put in new ball joints on all 4 of the corners. Then we'll reinstall the hubs and then get this up, and we should be able to put some tires on it after that. Let's go ahead and move right along into that though, and let's see if we can get this thing finished up today. Alright, so I just knocked out the passenger side of the rebuild. It was pretty straightforward and kind of simple. It just takes a little bit of time because you got to dismantle the whole knuckle and hub assembly, but it's alright. Knocked it out too nice and quick and easy. So now I'm going to move over and do the driver's side real quick, and then I'll show you guys what this looks like. It's starting to look really nice. There's a little bit of a rake to the truck right now, and I'm hoping that kind of evens itself out after I get all 4 corners back on the ground on its own weight. Let's go and knock out this other driver's side, and then we'll keep on moving with this project. Alright, you guys can't see it because it's behind me right now. We are completely finished. We got both sides of the axle completely rebuilt to replace all the parts that Matt decided to destroy. And we also got all the tires mounted, and we have the suspension tacked into place. I don't have time today to final weld everything, and I don't have time today to go through and add any more parts to this. I did initially want this video to include putting the steering together. I have the steering gearbox sitting on the plasma table right now, but I just don't have time today to get to it. So unfortunately, we're going to end it right here. So I'm pretty happy with how that all turned out. Hopefully I can make this last a little bit longer than Matt made it last. Obviously he destroyed this axle off-roading down in Georgia, and I don't want to replicate that same problem when I start wheeling this Willys. But huge shout out to Matt anyways, because these axles are great, the tires and bead locks are great, so at least I have something to build off of, and I didn't pay very much money for them at all. Anyways, let's go ahead and show you guys where we're at, what kind of got done today. We'll talk about the way forward and what's coming in the next video. Alright, so as you guys can see, the truck is on all 4s. Everything is just tacked into place still. I will come through and final weld it later on. But this is a huge step in the progress of this truck, and I'm loving the way it's starting to turn out. As you can see, I even got a chance to mount the spare tire today. That was nice and easy, and it looks great on the side of the truck, the same way the Willys used to have it from the factory. So, again, not completely perfect like all things, but this is turning out really nicely, and this is a huge progress step for the Willys as a whole, and I'm very, very happy with how it's looking, and I'm excited to move forward and finish this project here, I think pretty soon, actually, in the next couple months. Alright, so like all things, I did have a little bit of issues getting things to line up and be perfect. I did have to trim that casting, which was definitely not foreseen, and that kind of sucked to do, but if you take your time with it, it's very manageable. Like I said, I'm extremely happy with how this is coming out. The truck looks great. There's about a 1/2 inch up front of rake that I wish it was perfectly level, but at the 1/2 inch that it is, I'm not going to change it at this point. I'm not going to go through the effort of making it perfectly level. This is close enough for me. It'll probably level itself out with time anyways. Moving forward, I think next I'm going to knock out the steering. I'm hoping to use the steering parts off of Matt's Dodge because he gave me those as well. But if not, I do have an extra Heim joint steering kit. So if I can't make the use of the Dodge one, I will then make my own, but that's okay. It's too easy. So I think next week's going to be steering and maybe doing some small touch-up work on the tube work at the front of this thing, and then doing final welding on all these suspension parts. So I hope you guys stick around for that. Like I said, this build is happening extremely quickly, and I'm extremely happy with the progress that we're making. I hope you guys like it too, and I hope you're enjoying these videos. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and take care.